Now, Madam Attorney General, I have like 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious, and I'd like to see you flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the oppo on me, and because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump Bible. That's what you did. You made a joke, and I find offense to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book, which is the best one. What you got?
Something happened last week that most people are still not asking the right question about. Pam Bondi was fired as Attorney General of the United States. The official reason? Trump was frustrated with her. She wasn't moving fast enough. She wasn't delivering. But here is what nobody is saying out loud. She was fired just 2 weeks before she was scheduled to sit under oath before a congressional committee. A committee that had subpoenaed her specifically to answer questions about the Epstein files. Her deposition was set for April 14th. She was fired on April 2nd. Does that timing mean anything? Or is it just a coincidence? That is what we are going to walk through today. Because when you start putting the pieces together, the picture that comes into focus is not the one the White House wants you to see. Let's go back to the beginning. Watch this carefully. Pay attention to every single thing this congressman lays out, because he is not guessing. He is reading from documents, and he is building something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Attorney General Bondi.
Good afternoon.
Oh, you're right. Good afternoon. It's been a long day. I wrote this morning. We've known each other a long time, and I'll always be appreciative for your assistance when you were Attorney General in Florida after the shooting at my high school at Marjory Stoneman Douglas in my hometown of Parkland when we passed the bipartisan bill, the Marjory Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, which was the largest policy response to a school shooting in American history. Your department also prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law a constituent of mine and former felon that had plans to kill me when he was picked up by law enforcement after he was target practicing in his backyard with 2 rifles, a scope, a silencer, 3,000 rounds of ammunition, an anti-Semitic manifesto. My name was the only name on their target list, and my kids found out about this from their friends at school. So thank you. However, the most transparent administration in American history. Before Trump, we didn't know the word transparency, apparently. It's been 12 months since you gave Republican influencers part 1 of the Epstein files. You said the list was on your desk. Then a memo came out and said that there was no list. Phase 2 of the binders never happened. The President of the United States says the Epstein thing is a hoax. He blasts his own base for wanting the release of the files. He blamed Barack Obama. Republicans voted against the release of the files in the Rules Committee. Then they refused to even return to the Rules Committee until they could be protected from future votes on the release. Speaker Johnson sends Congress home a day early before break. They sent the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell. She says something favorable about the president. Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security facility. No one can explain why. Miraculously, the leaks to the Wall Street Journal stop. We come back from break. We have the Massey discharge petition. Republicans drop a rule, a non-binding resolution trying to kill the Massey discharge petition. The White House says passing the Massey discharge petition is a hostile act. Trying to stop the necessary 218 signatures, according to Republican members that signed it, the White House brought them into the Situation Room, you know, the place where the president goes for time of war, promising things like appropriations or maybe even to primary them. People in the room say you were there. It didn't work. We get the 218 signatures. We eventually passed the Massey petition. You guys didn't release the files. You were forced by Congress, every member of the House except one, and the entire Senate. The reason the president signed it is because it was a veto-proof majority. We can't agree on anything, and yet the entire House but one member and the whole Senate forced the administration to release the files. Kash Patel under oath said to Senator Kennedy, the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. We know now that's not true. According to documents, Epstein had a worldwide sex trafficking ring. Girls from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Paris, modeling agencies sending him girls. He even had a relationship with a summer camp where he groomed girls at a picnic table. Ghislaine Maxwell says 29 Epstein associates cut secret DOJ deals. Turns out there is a list. 6 names readily available if you unredact them. Co-conspirators named, but we got them when you unredact them. Maxwell recently tells a House Oversight Committee that she wants clemency to release more names. Kash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter. Lutnick says that in 2008, he went to Epstein's home, says he had a massage table in the living room, that Epstein said he got one every day, that it was the right type of massage. He and his wife decide to leave and say they'll never be in a room with him again. Howard then says, I'm sure the Epstein stuff is all on video. He was the greatest blackmailer of all time. Well, how would Howard know that? But now the files are public, and in 2012, we find out that he and his family are on Epstein Island after Epstein pled guilty to state charges. I'm from Florida. I take my family to Disney World, not to Epstein Island. There are documents in the files that dispute the president's claim that he kicked Epstein out of his club. Allegedly, the president said that he asked Epstein to leave. Supported now, that's disputed, though, statements from the manager of the club. Now, Madam Attorney General, I have like 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious, and I'd like to see, flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the oppo on me, and because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump Bible. That's what you did. You made a joke, and I find offense to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book, which is the best one. What you got?
Now let's slow down, because people are going to miss how serious this is if they move past it too quickly. Everything that Congressman just laid out is not opinion. It is a timeline, a documented, verifiable timeline of things that happened, things that were said under oath, and things that the documents prove are not true. Kash Patel told Congress under oath that there was no credible evidence Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. Bondi's own department closed the investigation in July of last year with the same conclusion. But then the files came out, and the files say something completely different. Girls from Poland, from Russia, from Paris, modeling agencies, a summer camp. This was not one man acting alone. And Moskowitz makes a point that should stay with you. Trump's name appears in the Epstein files more times than Harry Potter's name appears in all 7 Harry Potter books. That is not an opinion. That is from the documents. So when Bondi stood before Congress and said there is no evidence Donald Trump committed a crime, was she telling the truth, or was she saying what she had been told to say? Because 2 weeks after that hearing, NPR published an investigation showing that the DOJ had quietly left out more than 50 pages of FBI interview records. Those records involved a woman who told the FBI she was a minor when she says she was assaulted. The FBI interviewed her 4 times. Only one of those interviews was made public. And that was the only one that did not mention Trump. The other 3 were missing. The DOJ eventually released them only after the story went public. Their explanation was that those files were accidentally coded as duplicates. Only the files that named Trump, only those specific ones were the accident. A congressman from California went to the DOJ in person, reviewed the unredacted records with his own eyes, and came out and said, the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with a survivor who accused the president. So who made that decision? Who coded those files? And did anyone at the top of the building know those records existed before they quietly disappeared? Now, here is where this whole picture becomes something you cannot ignore. Bondi was under subpoena. Her deposition under oath was scheduled for April 14th. She was going to have to sit in that chair and answer very specific questions about very specific documents with no way out. She was fired 12 days before that date. Her replacement is Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal criminal defense lawyer. The same man who met privately with Ghislaine Maxwell in a closed room with no line prosecutors present. And days after that private meeting, Maxwell was quietly transferred out of a medium security federal prison and into one of the most comfortable minimum security camps in the country. A facility that sex offenders are normally not even eligible for. No explanation was given. And Bondi told Congress she did not even know it happened. The Attorney General of the United States did not know the most important witness in the most watched criminal case in the country had just been given a quiet upgrade days after a secret meeting with her own deputy. Does that sound like someone who was running the investigation, or does it sound like someone who was deliberately being kept out of certain conversations? And here's the question nobody wants to ask directly. Was Bondi fired because she did not protect Trump enough, or was she fired because she was about to become a problem? Because she was 12 days away from sitting under oath and answering questions, she could not deflect the way she did in that hearing room? We do not know the answer for certain, but the subpoena is real. The missing files are real. The Maxwell transfer is real. The fired prosecutors are real. The timing is real. Over 1,000 survivors. Not one person from Epstein's circle held accountable. A department that withheld records it was legally required to release. An attorney general removed 12 days before her sworn testimony. And the man now sitting at the top of the Justice Department is the same man who was personally defending the president in criminal court just over a year ago. When you put all of that together and ask yourself honestly what it looks like, what answer do you come to? Is this transparency or is this something else? Leave a comment and tell me what you think. And if you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe, because this story is far from over.